I've seen you talk about romance on the channel, and I know that I had it. I feel so far away from it that sometimes I don't talk about it, but I have to recognize that there is a significant portion of men that didn't have that disruption of the romantic ideal that I had for my love in high school.
Sure.
That I thought if I knew her schedule so well and could find her wherever she was in the hallway and was just always there waiting for her as she needed a shoulder to cry on or someone to be there. I had my lesson early.
Well, that's what it looks like we're supposed to do from the movies.
Correct.
And I'm just meeting you today, but from following you on the channel, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you were a more socially awkward guy when you were younger.
Yeah.
And maybe like me, you took some of your cues on how you were supposed to behave relative to women from TV shows, from popular music, from Hollywood.
Yes.
And that doesn't work, man.
Yes. And I was fortunate enough to have, I think, really the disruption to that experience in my early 20s where I found the book, The Game, which I don't recommend broadly because I think there's a lot of things that you don't need to take from it, including lying about, I just saw a fight outside or there was, a couple things happening. But the general idea in it that the way that I was approaching women and dating was flawed deeply. Mm-hmm. That was an invaluable contribution to my life, and it totally transformed it. So I had a tremendous amount of frustration prior to that. Luckily, it wasn't angry frustration. It was more internal attack.
Sure.
And then finding that busted this romantic thing. But we should take a moment to talk about like this romantic vision that it seems like a lot of men that encounter your channel might have and are breaking out of and are frustrated as they encounter that they've been lied to.
Yes. I have an episode coming out. I've recorded it, but it hasn't been published yet. And it talks about the most common male romantic fantasy, which is really hard for me to verbalize. It cuts pretty deep. In my opinion, the most common male romantic fantasy is I can be loved for who I am. Mm-hmm. Because that's deep down in his heart of hearts what every man wants to hear from a woman is that you're enough. Just being with you is enough. I don't need anything. I'm not like those other girls. I'm just in love with who you are. And the romantic idea is the purity of my love, like the depth of my affection, my loyalty and devotion. These are not only the highest things that a man can offer a woman, but it's the things that a woman is most looking for when she's filtering men and in her own selection process in the mating and dating game. And that's really not the case. For better or for worse, men have to provide value to justify the opportunity cost associated with choosing you over all the other options within a woman's frame.
Mm-hmm. It seems like that there is still a possibility, at least from my perspective, let me step back. I had that disruption and I went, you know what? I got to provide value. So that means I need to get in shape. I need to learn a bunch of languages. Let's make some money. Let's get some cool experiences under my belt. Let's learn how to talk to girls, do all these things. Mm-hmm. And then there's a frustrating sense if you do that and you succeed that I had of this woman loves my persona. She loves all of the things about me. And I've lost track myself probably of my own essence in doing this. I've put on a lot of cool decorum to make myself more appealing. I am now hopeful, believing that in a committed relationship, you can get to the point where someone genuinely loves you for who you are.
I believe that, yeah.
Okay. But it's not necessarily, that's going to happen in the courtship phase because you don't love her for who she is. You love her for the way that she looks and what she represents sexually to you or what she represents in your romantic brain or something like that.
That's what I was going to say is that complaint is something that women have been duly familiar with for generations. Mm-hmm. It's like they have to wear makeup. They have to dress in a certain way. They have to perform femininity, which is a suite of behaviors that are very culturally specific. And if she shatters that fantasy of womanness, of femininity too early, it can jeopardize her chances of securing the desired relationship. Mm-hmm. So women have understood more about how men select them than men have understood how women select them. But more and more men are waking up to that.
Yeah. Interesting. And so there are very practical considerations that people have when they're in this partnering phase, and given dating apps and the ability to move to a big city, there's more options than ever. So the stark reality of I'm comparing you to my next best option, and that next best option is not necessarily based on deep seeing of one another's souls, but of physical attributes, financial attributes, those sorts of things.
Sure.
Got it. And that's existing at the beginning. But I also see then there are these people that they break the romantic thing, but they remain in this jaded love isn't real thing because that was true in the way that they had to do the initial phases of dating. And I don't think that that's the end of the road, which is just something that has maybe uncomfortable with some of the red pill content that I've seen in the past.
Love is absolutely real. And one of the things that I believe is true about love is it's actually one of the most common everyday experiences on the planet. Like cosmically, it's what keeps the universe together. I think we have a very skewed understanding of what love is, and it tends in the romantic direction, which is, I think, such a distortion of the reality of love that it is wrong to use the same word for it. My definition of love is it's the humiliated self exalted. And
the humiliated self exalted.
Yes, because it's like, what are the best examples of love that we have in, say, cinema or in history? In cinema, the classic romantic hero, let's say, is Rick Blaine in Casablanca. And at the end of that movie, after struggling with the idea, he puts the woman he loves on a plane with another man because he understands that it's good for her and for the social movement at the time. And he suffers that humiliation such that the loved one has a better life than he could potentially offer her. That's love. Love is wanting what is better for the other person. Love also, it's interesting, like boundaries is a relationship word. Relationships need boundaries. Relationships need rules and definitions. Love doesn't give a shit about any of those things. You think that love will only love where it's allowed? I mean, that's insane, right? So what I say is that people need things from other people. And the medium in which value is exchanged is called a relationship. And you have to provide value in order to secure a relationship. And there needs to be some kind of exchange at parity, more or less. And it's for the two people involved in that relationship to decide for themselves what is valuable and how much it's valuable, etc. But you don't need a relationship for love. Because love is, you could say that it's beyond value or it's valueless. It's kind of the same thing from a Zen perspective. And love will consistently want what is best for the loved one and think very little of itself. I mean, that finds, in my opinion, its apotheosis in like Christian mythology, where it's the sacrifice. I'm willing to suffer everything out of my love for humanity, for instance.